tonight. I'm pleased to have Joe here on the phone. Joe McCouts over at American Memorial. He's going to go over the presentation for the Final Need program with American Memorial. And then what we'll do is, if there's any questions, we'll open it up real quick at the end. But Joe is instrumental in helping us write a lot of business through American Memorial. They have a great application process. It's quick, a lot quicker than Foresters, I can tell you that. But you really want to pay attention to everything that he's going to go over and assist you guys and us as a team to write not only good business but clean business through American Memorial. So that being said, Joe, why don't you take it away?
Well, very good. Thank you, Dave. Like Dave said, I'm Joe McCouts. I'm right here in the home office. I'm a point of contact for you, myself and Mike Franke. Basically, anytime you guys and gals have any questions about our program or process, that's what our role is, and you'll see that throughout as we go tonight. A little bit about who we are to let you know that we are a real company. Like I said, we are located here in Rapid City, South Dakota, out by Mount Rushmore area. So if you're looking on the screen now, kind of see a little image of our building. We have about 200 employees here that work together to help assist both families and agents with their needs, whatever that may be. So we have a pretty large team here in our home office in Rapid City. Like I said, I'm right in the home office. Have a good handle on what's going on, different things like that. But as far as who we are as a company, like I said, we are an A- excellent company rated. As you can see, a lot of customers will start to ask that, especially in a time where financial stability is a very big concern. So with that, as you can see as well, we are backed by our parent company, Assurant. Through that, we have $27 billion in assets and $8 billion in annual revenue. So obviously a very strong financial partner for you and for your customers. That way they know and they have a peace of mind knowing that we'll be here to support them with their choices and their needs. So a little bit about our product as we dive into it. There's a lot more on your websites that you guys and gals will have access to once you become appointed. We also have a guest account as well where you can get access to different types of materials and sales tools and agent reference tools, different things like that. But as a high-level snapshot, it is a whole life, pay-for-life product. Basically, it's a typical final expense product. You can see there with the different max and mins, the minimum face amount of $3,000, and if it's a scene sale, the maximum face amount of $50,000 for those types of sales as well. And I'll describe a little bit what is a scene and non-scene here in the next few slides. But just knowing that we can assist family with a few dollars of their needs, or a very expensive large celebration for their needs as well, $50,000 as an example. Issue age from 0 to 85, we typically see helping families and their people with their between 59 and 60 as an average age. So when you're out there thinking about that, average age is 59 to 60. Like I said, preferred standard coverage, which is an immediate death benefit. So regardless of what they qualify for, basically if a family qualifies for standard coverage, which is basically they answer yes to one of the, or yes or more to one of the health questions on the Part B, they're still eligible for immediate death benefit, full face death benefit, which is not a ROP product or a modified product, but rather immediate death benefit, which is a big benefit for the families as well. Another thing we do is we do publish the height and weight chart to alert you and to make sure you're spending your time wisely. If a person's outside the height and weight chart, we let you know what that chart is. That way you have the ability to see if they're a good fit for our program. And I did mention program on purpose because it really is, like I said before, it really is your typical final expense product. As we all know, final expense is basically helping families with their financial need. What we've done is we've made an entire program through things on this slide as an example and other items that we'll speak about as we go forward today. But really, we make it an entire program. We make it different than just your typical final expense product. We have the final expense product as the base, but we add a lot of different layers to it to make it an entire program. One of those layers being a rules-based process. Basically, you don't need to know all the medications that a family's taking. We don't have a drug list that we use, but rather we use that medication list when we pull up an MIB lookup and a prescription check to help verify the answers to those questions, basically utilizing technology to give you a decision as soon as the phone interview is done with our partners at Elite Sales Processing. So you're going to know exactly what the family qualifies before you ever leave their house or before you ever hang up the phone with them if you're choosing to use the non-scene sales process. Obviously, in doing that, you have the ability to fax, scan, email, send the application into us in our home office to take that initial premium, whether it's paid by check, credit card, or even deducted from account. We have the ability to help you with all those steps depending on what is most comfortable between you and obviously the customer as well. So like I said before, customers are really our biggest focus. We all know if our customers are happy, agents are happy, and obviously home office is ultimately happy as well. And in doing so, we've also developed a free tool, and I'll describe that free tool, that Dignity Planning tool, here in the next few slides. So we do have a free tool, free for you, free for the consumers, and it's very beneficial to make our typical final expense product now a program. In addition to that, we also have an item we call conservation process as well, which I'll talk about because it deserves its own slide. It deserves, that respect, that because there's a lot of different things inside of that program that are very beneficial for you as the agent, and also you as your consumers in the sales process as well. So speaking about the sales process, really it is very, very simple. We call it the 5-step program. Really, the first step is to understand the family's needs using that tool called Dignity Planning. Very simple, very basic, but yet very beneficial questions through that tool of Dignity Planning. The next step is just simply ask the health questions to pre-qualify. What you're doing is to see, is this person that you're helping a good fit for American Memorial Life, or is this, a better fit for another carrier that you have in your portfolio? The nice thing about that is, going in, obviously, there are certain situations where a customer is not being honest and truthful about the different ailments that they have. But what we are looking for is simply ailments, diseases, and disorders. We're not asking you, like I mentioned before, to go through and look in Mrs. Smith's entire medicine cabinet to see every medication that she's taken. But rather, we utilize technology to make that process very simple, very efficient, very effective for you and the family, because we know, it's uncomfortable for the family to have an agent there, and it takes a lot of time for you if you went through a fully underwritten product. But rather, we've done that. We made this product, in a sense, fully underwritten, but it's seamless to you and to the customer, because as soon as you hang up the phone, there's no more underwriting. It's done at the point of sale. You're going to know exactly that Mrs. Smith qualifies for our preferred product. And then, like I said, you're going to complete the application, fill it out, and call in our partners at Elite Sales Processing there, as you see on that step. Basically, what they're going to do, like I said, is tell you exactly what they qualify for. You hang up with them, finalize the application, and send it in to our home office, as you see there, for processing. What we do as far as the processing, and like I said, really our focus is to help the families out, but also to help you as agents as well. But we don't require you to record anything. You don't need to track anything, but rather what we do is we just ask that you obviously call in and do the phone interview. That's a required field or a required step of ours. From there, send us in the application. We have a team on our new business team that one of their many roles is to match up the phone recording that we take care of for you with the paper application. That way we can verify the answers to the payment options and different things like that, have everything tied together in one policy. We then get it issued, and then obviously you get paid. And the turnaround that time is incredibly impressive. If they get it clean, they're working on it that day. So it's a nice benefit for you as well. So speaking of a benefit and different parts of our program, one of the real big benefits, like I mentioned before, is Dignity Planning. What Dignity Planning is, like I said, taking that financial burden or that financial need, which is just final expense, setting a pool of money aside for their needs. We add now an emotional burden, or reducing that emotional burden that they have when they lose a loved one. I don't know if any of you on the phone or the call today have ever lost a loved one, but as you can imagine, and you know, it's the worst day of your lives. It's a horrible day. We want to take that day. We know it's horrible, but we want to allow the families to celebrate their loved ones. We really want them to have an idea or have a plan, a program of ways to really help out with those emotional needs and really build something tangible to an intangible product. So as far as something tangible, what we do is we build every single consumer and their next of kin a website of their own with their end-of-life plan. So the next of kin has the website, and the consumer has a website as well. And also, we also send, as we all know, that not everyone has access to the internet. So we also build and have ways for families to change and modify those plans. Again, free of charge. Everything is free of charge, for either through a mail, because they'll receive a welcome kit, or even through the phone as well. They can update and change and modify their plan, because their plan is just a way to communicate their end-of-life choices. It's a way to document those, whether, like I said, whether that be via phone, via mail, or via the internet. They have a way to document and communicate those plans to their loved ones. With that, every time you as an agent whenever you're tied to that plan, what we then do is we notify you via email. It's an automatic process. Say now Mrs. Smith, a year later, wants to have a large celebration. It's a perfect opportunity for wise agents like yourself to go back and make sure Mrs. Smith has enough insurance or that financial need to help her out with her emotional needs. In addition to that, like I mentioned before, we're building something tangible to an intangible product. Dignity planning is more tangible, and in doing so, it makes it very difficult for someone to come by after you and try to replace this business. Obviously, persistency is very important to us as well as very important to you. I mean, you want to continue to receive your commissions, and obviously we want to continue to provide a benefit to the family with their insurance needs, and ultimately have the funds available to reinvest their money and grow our program as well. And we can't do that if persistency is horrible. So we've developed this tool, and we believe in it, and it's free for two reasons. One of those is persistency. Obviously, there has to be a financial reason for it, and there has to be a reason why we want to pay you an additional 4% on your annualized premium. And that's a huge bonus. So every time that you spend literally 5 to 10 minutes of your time helping a family out with their basic and very beneficial choices, we are paying you 4% on your annualized premium for doing that. And like I said, we even believe in it so much that we would still build a dignity plan, even if it's not at a Dignity Memorial home, and even if it's not with us. Obviously, we couldn't pay you the 4% if there was no insurance premiums associated with it to offset some of those expenses. But we would still build the customer, your customer. If you wrote it with somebody else, we understand that, we know that, we appreciate that, but our focus here is really help provide peace of mind for the families we serve. And in doing so, we would still build them a welcome kit free of charge. We would still send it to their family and their loved ones free of charge as well. And ultimately, like I said before, still build them everything associated with it. We really couldn't pay you the 4% bonus on it, but it would still help the family out with their need, and it would still add a lot of credibility and trust for you and your team as well, showing them that, hey, we still want to provide this free service for you and free benefit. Speaking of benefit for insurance, I should say, our home office, I mean, you're probably wondering, really, why are you paying this 4%? And, the two things I just mentioned, that peace of mind for the families we serve and persistency, that's really the biggest reason why we do that. Because we know if our families are happy, again, agents are happy, and so is home office. So it's a win-win-win right across the board, utilizing this tool and this way to communicate end-of-life choices. So in regards to that, that's really dignity planning. We can talk about some questions that you may have. We also have just basically a one-page form that'll assist you in capturing some basic information, basically some information like burial, cremation. Would you like a large celebration, a medium celebration, or a small celebration? Most of the families we serve, just want a medium celebration. They don't need anything too elaborate, different things like that. So we do have tools for you to present to your customers. We have different sales materials, different things that are built around that emotional need and that financial need. So the sales tools associated with that are very beneficial, and definitely make sure you reach out to Dave and the team there to get those materials. You can reach out to our team as well to have access and have our mail center send those out, because it is very important, very beneficial to help a family with their needs. And it's very powerful as well, as you can imagine, helping a family with those sometimes difficult choices, and we know that they're difficult. And that's why we've developed also DVDs and a video as well that you can play on your phone or your tablet, or even if you have a portable DVD player, you can play a DVD, different things like that. Or if you don't, we also have a paper-based version of that to present to the family, because we do believe in it, and we know it's very powerful and very effective at keeping the policies on the books and helping you go through that process and helping a family with their needs. So that's really the benefits of dignity planning in this process. If you were to look at assisting families over the phone, or what we call the voice authorization process or the non-scene sales process, you can still assist families with their dignity planning needs. You can still assist them with every need that we have. You can still fill out the application. And here's how you do it. It is as simple as printing first name, last name via telephone or voice authorized, and a date and time. The reason for the date and time and why it's so important, like I mentioned before, in the normal sales process when you're sitting across the kitchen table from a customer, is we don't require you to record anything. We don't need you to track it or have a tracking number, but rather what we do is we match up that phone interview with your application. The same is true for this application as well. We match up that phone interview that we record with the physical application. So you would print the customer's first name, last name, voice authorized or via telephone, as you can see on the slide here on the screen, knowing that you have the ability to do that in all situations where the customer's signature is required. As you can see below, sometimes, just as a point of note, if the applicant or owner is different than the insured, currently we do need you to either email that to the to the applicant or the owner to sign. If it is different, this is only if it is different from the proposed insured. If it's the same, you can have them all on the phone, right? Sign it just like that, voice authorized. We are looking at different ways to improve that process, but currently right now, so if it is different, make sure that you either scan it, email, fax it, mail it, whatever is your preference, to the applicant or the owner or even the payer, obviously, for those signatures. But the nice thing is you can send it right back into our office. Most of the time, it's the same person. The proposed insured is also the owner or the payer on the policy. Typically, it's probably 85 to 90% of the time it's that way for us. But if it is the 5% or 10% difference that you see, make sure that you get the applicant owner signature, and that can be done through a fax, email, mail, whatever is your preference and the customer's preference. So really what we want to do is make this process very efficient and very effective, like I mentioned before. Like I said, typically it's simple as the proposed insured is the same as the applicant and the owner, and all I have to do is literally that simple. Anywhere there's a signature required, like I said before, whether that's on the dignity planning form, whether that's on the bottom initials of the application, you have the ability to print the customer's initials on that application as their agent, because we do capture that information when they call in to do the personal health interview. In regards to the personal health interview and the voice authorization process, really the steps are virtually the same. And by virtually, there's about 30 seconds to a minute difference just in the way they read the legal statement to the consumer, to the proposed insured. You can still be able to assist a family in all states, obviously except for Pennsylvania, with your first application. You could even do that over the phone as well. So you can assist a family prior to being appointed with us. Obviously, you have to be licensed in the state that you're calling. So basically, if you were calling here to the South Dakota home office to assist me with a policy as an agent, you as an agent would have to be licensed here in South Dakota. So think of it, wherever you're calling the customer, that is the state that you'd need to be licensed in. So if you're calling the customer in Florida, and you would need to be licensed in Florida as an example. So it's very simple, we do have agents that do get confused on it, and the reason why they get confused is because they're overthinking it. It is as literally as simple as writing first name, last name via telephone, date and time. One thing that we do on your behalf to meet and exceed our HIPAA guidelines and our privacy guidelines, we do send out a letter to the consumer with the HIPAA forms and the privacy forms as well. We do ask them to sign and send it back to us. The nice thing for you as an agent, you do not need to track that. You do not need to monitor that. It will not impact the pending of the policy, nor will it impact the pending of your commissions as well. Just something that we do to meet and exceed our HIPAA and privacy guidelines is sending that letter out to the consumer. So if you do hear that in the sales process with our partners at Elite Sales Processing, just know that you know, that's what we're doing on your behalf, again, free of charge for you. So that's our voice authorization process. Really, the gist of it is it's that simple. It's as simple as, just think of it if you were sitting across the kitchen table from the family, helping them out with their needs, and then having them sign it when you're across the table versus having you print their name via telephone or voice authorized date and time, and that's that. So it's that simple to really help the family with that sales process and in that. As far as additional competitive advantages, obviously, you know, other companies are starting to try to learn how to do the voice authorization process and different things like that. Like I mentioned before when we first started, we've made Final Expense not just a product anymore, but rather a program. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, and we try to do that as well for helping you and ultimately, obviously, helping the consumer. One of those big ways, like I mentioned before, is dignity planning. Dignity planning is so important to helping the family with that, because you guys and gals know you don't want to spend all your time to have somebody come a week or 2 weeks later to try to replace your business. It's a lot of work effort. We don't want to do that. So we've incorporated an entire program, like I mentioned before, and I'll say program again, but dignity planning, through that tool and that resource, it really helps that emotional need. The greater the emotional need, the more difficult it is for someone to replace that business, or the more difficult it is that business to lapse. Because now Mrs. Smith, in our example, she has an emotional attachment to know her needs are taken care of. She has an emotional attachment to know her loved one, on the worst day of their lives, it'll be a little bit better, because now they don't have to have a family strife about, oh, did mom want to be buried or cremated? They won't have to go through that process. So that's a very beneficial tool as well. As you'll see, is when you go into the guest account, you'll be able to see the different health questions that we have and the look-back periods. Obviously, when you look at it, the look-back periods are minimal. I mean, questions like, in the past 12 months, have you had internal cancer? 13 months ago, everything is clear. They could answer no to that question, which is a huge benefit to you, obviously, and to your customers as well. So we do have a very liberal application, and you can see that as you go through the process. Obviously, like I said, we don't have the best fit for everyone, but definitely it'll be a great way for you to start out the sales process and see what the customer's needs are and see if they qualify before you even make that phone call to our partners at Elite Sales Processing to verify that they do fit in our underwriting and our risk management category. Like I said, as soon as you make that phone call, you're going to know exactly what they qualify for before you hang up the phone, which is a huge benefit. In addition to that, we've spoke a lot today about what we as American Memorial Life do on the front end and then also during the sales process. The front end support, the different things like that, the training, different things like that, like most companies do. I'm not going to lie and say that there's, we're better than anybody else, but most people are doing, the upfront work. We got that. We realize that. We know that as well. Some other companies have the ability to help you in the sales process as well. We do that as well. But in addition to that, again, making an entire program from start to death, obviously death for all of us, every one of us knows at some point in our lives we are going to pass. and our loved ones are going to be stuck with a financial burden and an emotional burden on how to take care of us. So one of our biggest focus is really how do we, at American Memorial Life, how do we help families with that entire process? So not just the sales agent in the front, and then as soon as the policy's on the books, we don't care anymore. We're completely different than that. We want to help you as a sales agent help families buy or purchase their end-of-life needs. We support you through that. We alert you different ways on our website, saying this policy is a potential lapse, different things like that. What we've also developed is we've developed another free program for you which allows our team to notify you first to say, Mrs. Smith has missed a payment, possible lapse on our business. So it's going to alert you on your email, also alert you on your website as well that we build for you and tied directly to you. Say we know you're busy, we understand that. Part of the reason why we have developed a conservation program. Basically, we've taken a group of customer care representatives that make and take inbound courtesy calls. Basically, what they're doing is helping remind Mrs. Smith of her wise and caring choices. This is a huge benefit for you to know and understand how successful this team is at the program. Every 2 people they reach, they save 1. So as you can imagine, every 2 people they reach, they can save 1, and that's free of charge to keep that policy on the books for you to keep receiving the commissions. That's a huge asset to you and your program as well. Because going back to those two reasons of why we even pay you for dignity planning is that peace of mind for the families we serve, and then obviously persistency as well. We know that, we believe in it. That's part of the reason why we have that conservation program to help you and your team in maintaining the persistency that we spoke on before, and also the peace of mind for the families that we serve. So it's a huge benefit that we provide for you, and they're very successful. Like I said, the hardest part for them is actually reaching the customer. That's why it's important to make sure that you have correct information or additional information wherever needed. Because it might come back to be very beneficial to you, knowing that you captured Mrs. Smith's phone number correctly and allowing our conservation team to have the ability to reach out and share with Mrs. Smith about her wise and caring choice, because they're very successful at doing it and very beneficial, obviously, for you as the agent and also for the customer. So really, like I said, it's a partnership. Our plan is to build a program where we can help a lot of families with their needs, to work with you and your teams in growing and developing and helping you understand how beneficial it is to help families with their emotional needs and their financial needs. So with that, if you guys have any questions, I don't know, Dave, if you want to take us off mute, or what is your preference on that? And then we can go from there with questions.
And tell the team, guys, I can tell you this right now. I don't know of another company that is doing the conservation program. You have no idea. You'll find out how huge that is. That is huge, that they'll actually call. And John, I didn't even know this. This is the first time I'm hearing this, so this is amazing. So just so I understand this, right business, all of a sudden a non-payment takes place. I guess that client gets put into a queue, and you have outbound customer service reps that go and try to call that client to preserve that policy. Is that right?
Yes, and what we'll do is basically any change in the policy. So say a policy is a pending termination or a lapse or missed payment or possible termination, different things like that. Any change on the policy status, you are notified as an email, as an agent through your email and obviously through your website. There are certain times, basically, like I said, I think it's 15 days is the date it starts in that queue, where our team makes those outbound courtesy calls, allowing you the opportunity. We want the agents to have the first opportunity to save that piece of business. Maybe you have a good relationship with Mrs. Smith. You get your email and you say, oh, I'm going to call her today. You get it taken care of. What happens then, it pulls it off the queue because the policy status has now changed back to active. So what they do is they allow that agent and that relationship with the consumer to still develop, but knowing that a plan B is after 15 days, if you're not able to reach them, then it goes into a queue. You're exactly right. It goes into a queue, and then what they do is then they make those outbound calls, and they do it 3 different times that week, and it's not to the point where it's a collection call by any means, but rather a courtesy call, and they try different times of the day, different days of the week, and they try 3 different times on your behalf. And like I said before, the hardest part of their job, they're very, very, very good at helping the families understand their emotional need and their benefits to it. The hardest part is really reaching the family to save them.
Okay, that's huge, guys. You know, you'll see that sometimes you'll get emails for non-pay and for invalid accounts, whatever. But I know Foresters doesn't do that. They'll just send you an email, and that's the end of it. So that's great information there, Joe. Guys, I also want to very quickly bring you to my screen. And I want to show you quickly an application. Can everyone see right now? Actually, let me go and unmute everyone first. All right. Can everybody at this point see my screen with the application?
Yes, I can.
No. I see water.
I see a bunch of icons. Application for life insurance.
Yeah. Application for life insurance. Did everyone see that?
Yes.
It's yeah.
You see it now, Mary Jo?
I do see it. Yes.
Okay. This is the application you all have. When we do the voice authorization, it's pretty simple. I'm not going to go over every line here. You put the proposed insured, you put the owner's information, primary beneficiary, and Joe can attest to this. What I do is if they want their son, I get the name of the son, I try to get that son's phone number, and then I just put in the address field 100%. Okay? American Memorial doesn't necessarily need their address. But what I like, you have to have the name, the relationship to the proposed insured, and if you have a phone number, great, but you definitely want to put what percentage of benefits they're receiving. They don't necessarily need their Social Security number. On number 5, the base amount, make sure you fill that out. They don't need or require the physician information. If you have it, great, put it there, but if not, no big deal. Same thing with the driver's license number, but you want to make sure that they're an American citizen. Now, on the second page, payment options, make sure that they're going to do the monthly pre-authorized check, and then you want to go click the monthly tab, pick monthly, checking account, name of financial institution, the routing number, account number, and you see here where it says signature of account holder, you want to write voice authorization, okay? So you print the account holder's name, but then for the signature, when you see a signature on this application for the insured, write the words voice authorization. And you scroll down and you'll see it again, proposed insured. You just put the client's name and voice authorization. Same thing on the 4th page. On the bottom, it'll ask for the signature of the primary proposed insured. You just write the words voice authorization and the date. All right, and that's it. I mean, it's really 3-4 pages, and you're done. So very easy and very quick. And I just wanted to quickly go over that application. So I'll open it up for anyone that's got any questions for Joe.
I got one question. This is John. Yeah, this is John Latouche. I did not get a chance to get in on the first portion of this as far as visual. I was only in the listening. But I did see about where you were talking about the check. I mean, not the check, but the application that you wanted to have a date, time. Now, is
yes,
that
sir.
If we're talking outside of Florida, because that's where I'm at? Say,
Yep.
like you were to give your explanation. you South Dakota, if I was talking to someone in South Dakota, would I use their time zone, and would I also mark it down there as, mountain time or whatever time zone it would be?
Honestly, John, I wouldn't think about it that much. I mean, if when you're doing a date and time, just do it your time that you're at. So don't worry about, when you do that, the date and time, obviously the date we all know that doesn't change across the country. The time within, 2 to 4 hours, depending on what part of the country you are and calling from. So yeah, just do the time that you're at as an agent. That's not as important. I mean, we're not going to say, oh, this one is, it took place at 2 o'clock Mountain Time instead of 4 o'clock, Eastern Time. Obviously, it's the same thing, but we're not as concerned. It makes it a lot easier because our new business team, part of the, like I said before, John, part of their role and responsibility is to match up that voice recording. And to be honest with you, they take a lot of calls and they match up a lot of applications with their phone interview, and we want to make their job a little easier. So as far as a date and time, don't worry about the time. Just put it down as where you are as an agent. Don't try to figure out math to say, oh, this person was in this time zone and different things like that. But the rather important thing is first name, last name, voice authorized or via telephone, date and time where you are is just fine. And then obviously, that's part of the most important part.
Hey, Joe, real quick, I don't even do that because they ask me when I do the application, the representative, when they're doing the application, they ask me if I want this client to get the Dignity plan, and I just say yes, and that's all I do.
Yeah. As far as that, I mean, to definitely get the bonus on the.
Sorry, John. Joe?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I just muted everybody because I didn't know what the background noise was.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to describe the dignity planning portion. To make sure that you receive the dignity planning benefit, or the bonus, I should say, the 4% bonus, if you ask ESP to do it, you won't get the dignity planning bonus, but rather just, and I can send Dave the application for you, but rather just fill that one-page application out. Because most of the information you already have from the application, you have the address, and typically what we've seen is the primary beneficiary and the beneficiaries are the next of kin on dignity planning. So all you're pretty much checking out is, what is the plan choices, and do they want a funeral home closest to them utilizing a Dignity Memorial home, or do they want to, select the Jones family funeral home on Main Street? Either way, that is the way to do it to make sure you get that 4% bonus instead of having Elite Sales Processing ask those questions. And it'll make your phone call go a lot quicker with the Elite Sales Processing as well.
Okay, so you have to do it that way in order to get the 4%.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can
Anyone
I
else have any questions?
Yeah, as far as the dignity planning form,
Yes, ma'am.
is that the planning and funding guide?
It's very similar to that. The planning and funding guide is a tool. Basically what it is a brochure. And that tool is a great brochure when you're presenting face-to-face. Obviously, it's very difficult to utilize the fullest potential of that brochure when you're doing a non-scene sales call. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing a non-scene sales call, we do have for all times when you're assisting a family with dignity planning, simply by using that one-page form, and I can send it to Dave as soon as we're off the phone here, so you can send it to both you, Mary and John, and everybody else on the call. It's a one-page form, burial, cremation, large celebration, small celebration. There is additional items on there, but you'll see the little triangles that what are required items for us to build the consumer their end-of-life choices.
Okay. I haven't. Okay, great. So we'll have that we'll submit with the application then.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know that you already said this, but I wasn't sure what you said. As far as the initials on the application, how do we handle that?
Yep, with the initials. For you, Mary, if I were calling you as a customer, I would just write your initials on the bottom. I wouldn't write voice authorized or different things like that. I'd just write, and you said it would be MC. Am I correct on your initials?
MS.
Yeah, well, yeah,
MS?
I mean,
Okay.
MJS, but if we're doing this online, I mean, it's not a hard copy. It's not a hard piece of paper. It's
Yep. Yeah, and that's just fine. You can just still print the customer. And the reason for those initials on the bottom of the application, what that does is most agents send one application at a time. We've had agents send multiple applications where it was page 1 of the Mrs. Smith, page 2 was Mrs. Jones, page 3 was Mrs. Smith. So it really helps the new business team in matching that application up. So it is as simple as printing your initials on the bottom, or I should say yours as the agent, but rather the consumer's initials on the bottom. And you can do that as an agent, so you don't need to write voice authorized. You just write the initials of the applicant.
okay. So, in other words, the application that we're taking and we're typing on it in the computer, we need to print it out and initial it with a pen and mail it to you?
Nope. We have the ability to do fillable PDF documents if if you're planning to do all non-scene sales or different things like that. So we do have the ability to do fillable PDF documents. So as far as initialing, you just put it in there. It's more to make sure page 1 is tied to consumer A, page 2 is tied to consumer A, page 3 is tied to consumer A.
So in other words, just like we apply our signature.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't know what
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very simple. It's a good question, but we do have agents that get confused on it, Mary. So don't feel bad.
Okay.
I mean, it is. If it's too confusing, that means you're overthinking it. It's that easy.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Any other things that I kind of wasn't sure about? In your presentation, there was a small slip of paper where you were talking about printing their name via, VoIP and the time and the date.
Yep.
Is that what we put on the? I missed something. Like, where do we write that?
Where you write that was as Dave was describing on page 3. So if you have an application in front of you, yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay.
If you're looking at page 3, all I did was take a snapshot of the signature portion on page 3.
I see. Okay.
Besides dignity planning, that one-page form, there is no additional forms needed for our application. Basically, everything that you have in our application plus the dignity planning form, if you choose to get that 4% bonus and help families, because it's not a required form, but it's a very beneficial form. And like I said before, we believe in it so much, but we do not require you to do it. Everything is included in the application.
Okay. All right, I see. Nice application.
No, thank you.
All right, that's all for now.
It's really easy, and obviously for an extra 4%, it pays to do it. So, and also, I just want to add something which is extremely important, is the persistency. For you that may not know this, what it means is what stays on the books for the full year that you write a policy. So you want to do everything and anything and really highlight and big lighting stars, if you will, every benefit the client is receiving by going with this plan. You want the business to stay on the books, and it's extremely, when we do it over the phone, the persistency levels are usually lower over the phone compared to face-to-face. So we have to do a top-notch job, and I'll do some more training on that at another time, of really highlighting the benefits to the client so they maintain the policy for the year and years going forward.
Great.
All right, anyone else have any questions before we wrap this up?
This is Joe again. I do want to thank you guys for your time. And what I'll do as well is, as promised, I'm going to send Dave the dignity planning form, and also kind of recap on the guest account and make sure you guys have everything you need. And in doing so, I'll have all my direct contact information on the bottom of the email. That way, obviously, call Dave with any questions, but you at least have a point of reference as well in the home office. That way I can help you with any questions you have, whether it be additional questions on dignity planning or the voice authorization. Obviously, Dave is an expert as well, but just to know you have another point or another voice in the home office, that's more my intent as well.
All right. I appreciate it, Joe, for giving me your time here. Everyone, thank you for coming on, and Happy selling. And guys, I'll have that email out to you probably tonight. And any questions, with the application and doing it, just let me know and I'll go over it with you. But Joe, I do appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.